So you're babysitting this kid one night, and he's got some weird creepy doll about the same size as him, and you send him to bed early. You're chilling, watching some TV, Twilight Zone, Family Guy if you're feeling like you're 12 again. But then you start hearing the pitter-patter of little feet, and you think this kid is testing your nerve. Sometimes they do. Not this time. Howdy folks, welcome to another episode of Phenomena, the show where I, your ghostly host with the most, will choose a topic in the horror, fantasy, or sci-fi genres that I find interesting, ask a bunch of questions about them, see if I can answer my own questions, but then after that I hand my questions over to you guys in the comments. You guys can answer them, or you can ask me questions about the topic at hand, or tell me a little story. I don't know, tell me a scary story. I'd appreciate that. So, dolls. Going slightly back to horror here, but the thing about this is that it reminds me kind of the situation with clowns. See, clowns and dolls, from what I notice, seem to be the biggest things that, people have a phobia with. Now, I gotta be honest, when I was a kid, wasn't really a doll person. I had dolls. I had Barbie dolls. I had the whole hookup though. I had the Barbie camper, I had the little car, I had the little suitcase thing that you hold all of the Barbies in. There are some dolls out there that are just freaky looking. Just fling a few and see if you guys can understand what I mean by just freaky looking. So let's get started. What do I usually do when some of y'all out there don't really know what a doll is? That's right. Why are haunted dolls a popular trope in horror movies? I've never understood this idea of oh, it's a spooky doll, a possessed doll. I don't really find any haunted doll or possessed doll movies scary, so much as funny or just strange. You can kind of tell from this list of movies that I'm gonna rattle off for you that some of these are from the imagination, and others of these try to build in some sort of historical element, using dolls or puppets as the main antagonist or the conduit for a spirit to come through and jack your entire house up. Dolls, Child's Play, Puppet Master and its never-ending sequels, Dolly Dearest, Demonic Toys, Dead Silence, The Boy, Robert, Ragdoll, Pinocchio's Revenge, Annabelle. Obviously the more recent, which will be coming out soon, the new Child's Play. That is going to be interesting, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with that. I'm very skeptical about reboots, but the recent Halloween one gave me a little bit more optimism and a lot more hope. We'll see how this Child's Play one plays out. Why in the first place would someone even make a haunted or possessed doll movie? I think it's an interesting topic because you assume that something that is made for children's enjoyment and or as a gift to someone, like a porcelain doll, something that is very close to someone, can easily come alive and choke you to death. That'd be pretty terrifying. But I also think discovering this through movies like Child's Play, it plays on it a lot more. But we can even go back further in 1963 with that one Twilight Zone episode that I know plenty of you nerds know about, Living Doll with Talkie Tina. That was pretty terrifying. It's very eerie to think this is an inanimate object and it has suddenly come to life. And either it is very sinister or I'm losing my mind. Which is it? Now that I find interesting, putting scary dolls in movies or in TV shows. I feel like that little weird uncanny valley situation, that is terrifying. It's what made Child's Play so scary. It's what made Living Doll so scary back in the day. I mean, it's what currently makes Annabelle sort of scary. But we'll get into Annabelle later because I feel like she's considered a little bit more on the paranormal side. All of these dolls might be considered on the paranormal side, but I feel like she's a direct example of ghostly, poltergeisty, whatever you want to call it, experiences. Leading into the next question, what makes dolls so scary in the first place? To make people want to make movies about them. What makes them scary? You guys are gonna have to answer this for real in the comments, because I just don't find dolls scary. Now, I know that there's a huge trend on YouTube where people were like ordering haunted dolls and possessed dolls and scary dolls off eBay and Craigslist, and I find that very dangerous. Why would you want that? At least if it's not a ghost, it might be asbestos. You don't want either. I don't get it. When I was watching this trend kind of unfold, I was just sort of like, even for me, as a person who doesn't find an inanimate object that sort of looks like a human scary, I still find that to be a very strange situation. I find that the only way I can understand dolls being scary to people is that the doll has to have an uncanny resemblance to a human being in some way. So like your classic porcelain doll, or the good guy doll from Child's Play. It kind of looks like humanoid, to where people are kind of like, oh, that looks a little too freaky. You know, if it starts blinking at me, that's terrifying. But I've never really found the idea of a doll, like a regular doll, being scary. But the ones that have the flip up eyes, you know, those ones where you flip the doll back and forth and their eyes go up. Yeah, those are pretty terrifying. To kind of get more into the idea of where these scary doll movies come from, I'm gonna try to put myself in that director's shoes or that writer's shoes. It's the Annabelle effect, in my opinion, because it's not really the doll that's scary, or the teddy bear or the toy that's scary. It's what's attached to it. So for me, I feel like stuff like Annabelle is scarier because the doll is just a conduit for the monster that will follow it. You know, so you allow some weird, freaky looking doll to come to your house. You have no one to blame but yourself if you get a poltergeist. I'm just letting you know. On the other hand of things, you have Child's Play, which started more with this criminal knowing some weird voodoo spell to put his soul inside of a doll. There's really no explanation for it except for like, oh yeah, I learned it from this one voodoo priest, and that's it. There's like really nothing else to it. But you know, maybe it works in that way, that you don't really need to explain all the technicalities of like a possessed doll coming to life and murdering you, and then wanting to suck the life force out of your child and also possess that child's body. That's pretty terrifying in and of itself. Comparing these two, this is where I mean, like, there's that difference, you know? You have Annabelle, which is more of like, the doll is a conduit for other things. She already looks creepy, but the real Annabelle doll that this whole situation was based off of didn't even look like that. But then on the other hand, you kind of have things that just come out of the uncanny valley, coming out of people's imaginations. Child's Play. Someone had to come up with that. Obviously, the idea of haunted dolls throughout history has been a thing. Now, this last question, I'm just real curious about what you guys are gonna think, because I haven't had an experience like this, and I would like to hear from you guys about it, because I mean, there's plenty of stories about it on YouTube of people sharing like
my scary ghost story.
So my next question has more to do with like your personal experience. Have you ever had a doll or a toy that did freak you out growing up? And did it make you uncomfortable just being around it? Maybe it wasn't haunted or possessed. I'm curious to hear about those kind of stories, because having paranormal experiences is kind of like low on the totem pole for me. But I'm interested in hearing about other people's like paranormal experiences and what causes them. Tell me what you think. Give me your thoughts. If you have any questions or comments, let me know whether you think scary doll movies will actually be that scary, or if they're, you know, just for show. What do you think? That's the end of this episode. I know it's a little bit shorter than usual. Let me know what you guys think. Like if you dig this video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and I will see you guys next week with a new phenomena to explore. Bye, y'all.